The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
Yeah, and joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is none other than JJ Kinahan. He's Chief Market Strategist at the deliciously named trading education network, tastytrade. Hello, JJ.
Good morning,
to see you
Lawrence.
again.
So tasty.
How are you?
Good to be on.
So,
Good to be with you guys.
you
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. You know, as we discussed here, there seems to be kind of a flight to Bitcoin, if you will, but yet Bitcoin's price is sort of like in the doldrums here. And when I say flight to Bitcoin, I'm saying away from the alts. But you're also looking at things like retail sales, and you kind of see crypto and retail related. So can you kind of go into this and what that means for the current prices?
Sure. So when I'm talking about retail, what I really mean is retail investors tend to use Bitcoin, in my opinion, as a bit of a confidence measure. And so if you touched on this a little bit, Lawrence, in your opening comments where you said things are a little shaky right now. Things are a little shaky right now. We've seen the overall stock market be down 8 weeks in a row. It looks like we may be able to pull out of that this week. So what's going on right now is a sale of assets. It's not being very specific over the last 8 months. We've just seen people pull back their risk across the board. So with that, it's no surprise to me that people are pulling back on crypto everywhere. Bitcoin, probably being the most established name among retail investors, is the one that I think people will, I hate to use the word trust, but I can't find a better way to say it, trust a little bit more to hold up if things continue along that path. What we're really looking for right now in all markets, in my opinion, is some sort of a catalyst, some sort of a reason to say, hey, it's time to buy. If you think about where we were 6 months to a year ago, every down move, every time assets were sold, it was used as an opportunity to buy. That has flipped right now to when we go down, boy, should I be unloading some of my position and waiting a little bit here? I don't think it's a coincidence that, yes, Bitcoin's down a bit today, even though the S&Ps are up, but really that the S&P 500 is trying to break 4,000, while at the same time Bitcoin's trying to break 30,000. I think those are both very important points, very correlated, in my opinion, as to the confidence in the market and in Bitcoin and in assets overall right now.
You know, we talked earlier about the GDP number being revised down again, and this whole idea of a contraction in the economy. Ultimately, that's kind of what the Fed needs to curb inflation, is a bit of a contraction here. Whether or not that's brought about by supply issues or such as a close down in China, et cetera. Do you think, though, that overall is going to find its way into the crypto markets, that this sort of, despite all this fear of inflation hitting 8-10%, whatever it's going to be in the coming months, that the fact that the economy may be shrinking, or that the Fed might take, I don't want to say too harsh of a measure because it was so free with that money for many years, but perhaps a little bit of austerity, let's say. Do you think that that's going to outweigh the effects of that inflation and actually bring crypto prices down for a while?
Well, I think that what's going to happen to crypto overall, and yes, it will affect it, maybe not longer term, but in the short term, you may see crypto prices continue to sort of, work their way down slowly, have these intraday rallies or, these 1 or 2 day rallies continue to work their way down. By the way, that's not necessarily a bad thing for many of these coins, because I think what it's going to do, just like, if we look at stocks 20, 25 years ago, where many of the stocks that really weren't quality, but people were throwing money, and actually maybe you could even say last year, now they're coming down, and now you're separating those that are good performers longer term from those that maybe you should reconsider in terms of where you're putting your money. I think you're starting to see a little bit of that in crypto also. Long term, that's a very healthy thing for crypto products, is that you start to separate some winners from some losers. And those, the criticism of crypto products has always been that they've never seen anything but a bull market. Well, we're starting to see right now a bit of a bear market, and that's usually a good time for companies, for products, whatever it may be, that are quality longer term. So as I said, I don't necessarily see this as a bad development for the crypto markets that we're seeing a bit of a sell-off, because those that survive will be much stronger and much more trusted in the long run.
So what do you think some of the losers and winners will be? We'd be curious to hear some names.
Well, I think it's hard to believe, given all the money in Bitcoin, Ethereum, et cetera, that those are the two that people, we talked about that a bit. I think those are the two that are the primary winners. I really don't want to necessarily go out and say this one's going to not survive, this one's going to be a loser, et cetera. I'd rather come out and say, hey, here are the two that I think end up being the primary winners in this and more trusted. Now, will there be some others that surprise? Yes, of course, and that's a good thing. You want to see some that maybe you don't think are as healthy, but end up being healthier because of that. But it just as in all markets, if you look at what happened the last couple of years, and the reason I'm saying these two is I just see so many parallels between what's going on right there in crypto markets and what happened in the stock market over the last couple of years. Because the last couple of years, there were two names that led the stock market higher. That was Apple and Microsoft. Every time we sold off, retail traders particularly went to those two names. I see a very similar thing happening in the crypto market. When we sell off, I'm watching the behavior, on our brokerage side, on our Tasty Work side. I'm seeing our clients go to Bitcoin and Ethereum for the vote of confidence, if you will, for their crypto money overall. So I think it's actually a really good thing. Those two have to sort of bring the rest of the market up with them. It's a tough chore, but I actually believe they can do it. As I said, in the short term, we may see some back and forth and the market being a little weak, but longer term, this is, I know it's hard for people to believe, maybe particularly those who are long those at the moment, and they want it to go a little bit lower, but long term, this is really healthy for the products.
Yeah, all right. That's interesting. Bitcoin, Ether are the Microsoft and Apple of crypto. So you mentioned that you think it's going to go down lower. So I wonder, when do you think is the bottom? When's the buying opportunity? What's your next delicious trade?
Well, if I look at the charts, et cetera, at Bitcoin, you got to look at that 25,000 level. Seems to be a level where the next primary level of support is going to be. As I said, right now is a big test. Would love to see it break through 30,000. And one of the really interesting things that you see in behavior of retail clients is these major marks, 25,000, 30,000, 35,000. When we break through there, you start to see more clients come to the products and start to buy them. So I find it very, very interesting that people are so driven by price and by major milestone price. So I really think if Bitcoin can get through 30,000 here over the next couple of days, you can see new money start to come in. As we get down to 25,000, I would absolutely expect to see much more support. We were down there about 10 months ago. We saw the support came in. So once again, I would expect that to happen.